The candles were still burning when everything changed. My daughter Rachel had set the table with her usual precision. White linens, silver flatware that belonged to her grandmother, wine glasses positioned exactly 1 inch from the plate edges. The kind of dinner that announced effort without warmth. 23 people crowded around 2 tables pushed together in her dining room, all of us pretending this was something other than an obligation. I sat near the middle, fork in hand, listening to conversations overlap and multiply. My hearing aid picked up everything. That's what people don't understand about modern devices. They're not just amplifiers. They filter, they prioritize, they let you choose what to focus on. Right now, I was listening to my son-in-law Brendan hold court at the far end, telling some story about a client who tried to negotiate rates after signing a contract. "So I told him," Brendan said, voice carrying over the table noise. "You want to renegotiate? Fine. We'll renegotiate everything, including whether we work together at all." Laughter rippled through his section of the table. My daughter laughed loudest, her hand on his shoulder. I took a bite of turkey. Dry. Rachel always overcooked it. Brendan's eyes found mine. He grinned. "Hey, Jim, you hear that story?" "Oh, wait." He tapped his ear. "Maybe turn up the volume on that thing." A few uncomfortable chuckles. I kept chewing. "Seriously, though," Brendan continued, louder now, making sure everyone could hear. "How much does one of those cost? Like, what are we talking? 5 grand? 10? "Brendan," Rachel said, but she was smiling. "No, I'm genuinely curious, because Jim's got the good stuff. Look at it. That's not CVS hearing aid technology. That's premium." I set down my fork, took a sip of water. My sister-in-law, Laura, sitting across from me, suddenly became very interested in her green beans. "You know what's funny?" Brendan said. "My grandfather had one. Massive thing, made him look like a fighter pilot. But Jim's got the invisible kind, discreet, expensive, the kind that says, I can still afford nice things even though I'm retired." "That's enough," my ex-wife Patricia said from the end of the table. "What? I'm complimenting him. It's a nice hearing aid." I looked at Rachel. She met my eyes for half a second, then looked away. "You should get him to turn it off," Brendan said to her. "It's probably picking up everything, every fork scrape, every whisper. Bet he can hear things we don't even know we're saying." "It doesn't work like that," I said quietly. "Oh, he speaks." Brendan raised his wine glass. "See, I knew it was working. Jim, buddy, I'm just saying. If it's ruining dinner because you're hearing every little thing, maybe just, you know." He made a turning motion with his fingers. "Give yourself a break. Turn that stupid thing off." Silence dropped over the table like someone had thrown a blanket over it. Rachel looked at her plate. I stood up. My chair scraped against the hardwood. 23 faces turned toward me. "Jim," Patricia said. I folded my napkin, set it beside my plate, pushed in my chair. "Dad," Rachel said, not loudly, just enough to be heard. I walked around the table. My footsteps seemed very loud, or maybe that was just me paying attention. "Oh, come on," Brendan called after me. "It's just a joke. Lighten up." I stopped at the doorway to the dining room, turned back. Rachel was looking at Brendan, not me. Her expression was something between embarrassed and irritated, but not directed at him. At me, for making a scene, for not taking the joke, for being the problem. "It's just humor, Dad," she said. "Don't be so sensitive." I nodded slowly. Then I left. In the hallway, I pulled on my coat, grabbed my keys from the bowl by the door. Behind me, I could hear Brendan's voice restart, probably making some comment about old people and their feelings. Someone laughed, probably not Laura. I sat in my car in their driveway for 3 minutes, engine running, heat blasting. Then I pulled out my phone and sent a text message to my contact at Meridian Properties. 4 words. "Activate the clause?" I backed out of the driveway and drove home through empty streets, Christmas lights blinking in windows, inflatable snowmen swaying in yards. My phone buzzed twice before I reached my house. I didn't check it. Inside, I hung up my coat, took off my hearing aid, and set it on the kitchen counter. Then I poured myself 2 fingers of bourbon and sat in my recliner in the living room with all the lights off except the tree. Patricia called at midnight. I didn't answer. Rachel called at 12:30. I didn't answer. Brendan called at 1:15. I almost answered. Then I didn't. At 2 a.m., my phone lit up with a text from Rachel. "Dad, what did you do?" I turned off my phone and went to bed. As the story unfolds, hit the hype button, like, subscribe, and write in the comments. Would you forgive them or walk away? Morning came cold and bright. I woke at 6 out of habit, made coffee, and sat at my kitchen table watching frost patterns on the window. My phone had 17 missed calls. I turned on my hearing aid first, adjusted the settings. Then I turned on my phone. It started buzzing immediately. Rachel's name appeared on the screen. I let it ring. When it stopped, a voicemail notification popped up. Then another call, then another voicemail. I opened my laptop instead and checked my email. 3 messages from Meridian Properties confirming the activation. 1 from my attorney, 1 from the property management company handling the commercial spaces on Riverside, 2 from the equipment leasing company. Everything was in motion. I replied to my attorney first. Proceed as discussed. Then I made breakfast. Scrambled eggs, toast, black coffee. I ate slowly, reading the news on my tablet. The Dow was up. Bitcoin was down. Somewhere in the Middle East, someone was fighting someone else over something that wouldn't matter in 100 years. My phone rang again. Patricia this time. I answered. "What in God's name did you do?" she said. "Good morning to you too." "Jim, Rachel has been calling me since 5 a.m. Brendan is losing his mind. Their lawyer is apparently already awake and on the phone." "What happened?" I took a sip of coffee. "I exercised a contractual right." "What does that mean?" "It means exactly what it sounds like." "Jim?" "Patricia." She sighed. That particular sigh. The one that used to mean I was being difficult on purpose. "Can you please just tell me what's going on?" "Do you remember when Brendan started his consulting business?" "Vaguely." "Do you remember who connected him with his first major client?" Pause. "You did." "And do you remember who co-signed the commercial lease when his credit wasn't established enough?" Another pause. "You did." "And do you remember who provided the initial capital equipment through a leasing arrangement with a personal guarantee?" I'm starting to get the picture. "Good. Then you'll understand that when Brendan asked me last year to restructure those arrangements to reduce his monthly obligations, I agreed, on the condition that he maintained certain professional standards and family courtesies." "Jim, he made a joke about your hearing aid." "He did." "That's what this is about?" I set down my coffee cup. "No, this is about the fact that my daughter sat there and told me to lighten up. This is about the fact that she chose his comfort over my dignity. This is about the fact that I have been funding their lifestyle for 4 years while being treated like a senile old man who should be grateful to be invited to dinner." "So you're destroying his business?" "I'm withdrawing my support. There's a difference." "Jim, he has 30 days to find alternative arrangements. That's what the contract stipulates." "Very generous, actually. Most commercial leases require 60 days' notice, but I gave him 30. He'll be fine. He's competent." "Probably." I heard her breathing on the other end of the line. "You're being petty," she said finally. "I'm being clear. Rachel is devastated." Rachel should have thought about that before she chose to publicly humiliate her father. It was a joke. Then this is also a joke. I'm sure she'll lighten up. Patricia hung up. I finished my breakfast, washed the dishes, and went down to my office in the basement. 20 years in logistics and facilities management teaches you things. How systems work, how dependencies stack, how a single point of failure can collapse an entire operation. Brendan's business was built on relationships I'd introduced him to, contracts I'd helped him negotiate, infrastructure I'd provided. Not because I'm generous, because Rachel asked me to, because she said it would help them build something together, because I'm her father, and fathers do things like that. But every piece of support I'd given him had been carefully structured, documented, protected with clauses that people skim over when they're signing because everything seems friendly, and who reads the fine print when it's family? I pulled up the master folder on my computer, scanned through the documents. Lease agreement with Meridian Properties, 63 pages, co-signed with a standard clause allowing the guarantor to activate termination with 30 days' notice if the primary tenant violated terms of professional conduct. Brendan had signed page 61 without reading page 47. Equipment leasing contracts, 4 separate agreements covering office furniture, computer systems, networking infrastructure, and presentation equipment, total value approximately $80,000, all structured as leases with buyout options, all with clauses allowing the guarantor to recall equipment with 15 days' notice. Client introductions. Not contractual, obviously, but documented in emails going back 4 years. Every connection I'd made for him, every reference I'd provided, every door I'd opened. And then there was the other thing, the thing Brendan didn't know about. I opened a separate folder, this one password protected. Inside were 3 years of correspondence with Brendan's largest client, a regional healthcare network. I'd worked with them for 15 years before retiring. When Brendan needed a major account to establish credibility, I'd made a call, set up a meeting, sat in on the first 3 presentations. What Brendan didn't know was that the contract he'd celebrated like a personal victory had a performance review clause. Annual evaluation. Renewal dependent on maintaining standards. What he also didn't know was that I still had coffee with their facilities director every month. My phone buzzed. Text from Rachel. "We need to talk, please." I replied, "I'm available tomorrow afternoon, 2 p.m., my house." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "Can't we talk now?" "Tomorrow, 2 p.m.?" I closed my phone and went back to my files. The thing about revenge is that people think it requires anger, explosive confrontation. But that's amateur hour. That's how you make mistakes. That's how you end up looking like the villain. Real revenge requires patience, documentation, preparation, and I'd had 4 years to prepare. I pulled up my calendar and started making appointments. First call, my attorney, to review the lease termination process. Second call, the equipment leasing company to schedule pickup. Third call, Meridian Properties, to confirm they'd received the activation notice. Fourth call, the facilities director at the healthcare network, just to check in, see how things were going with their current consulting contract. Mentioned that I'd heard some concerns about responsiveness. Nothing concrete, just friendly conversation. He thanked me for the heads up, said he'd look into it. I hung up and leaned back in my chair. Through the basement window I could see the street. Christmas decorations still up. A neighbor walking their dog. Normal morning, normal day. My phone rang again. Brendan this time. I answered. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" His voice was tight, controlled. The way people sound when they are trying not to yell. "Exercising my rights under our agreements." "Over a joke? Are you serious right now?" "I'm completely serious." "Jim, listen to me. You pull this trigger, you destroy everything we've built. Rachel and I have been working for years. You've been working with my money, my connections, and my reputation as collateral. I've been paying you back. Every month, the lease payments, the equipment. Below market rate. We both know that. Because you offered. You said you wanted to help. I did, and now I've changed my mind." Silence on the line. "You can't do this," Brendan said finally. "I can. I am. Rachel will never forgive you. That's her choice. You're destroying your relationship with your daughter over one stupid comment at dinner?" I looked at the ceiling, counted to 3. "Brendan, let me explain something to you. When you publicly mocked me, you weren't making a joke. You were testing boundaries. You were seeing what you could get away with. And my daughter, instead of defending her father, told me to lighten up. That's not a joke. That's a statement about where I stand in this family. That's insane. Is it? Tell me, Brendan, how many times have you made comments like that? How many little digs about my age, my retirement, my hearing, my memory? How many times has Rachel laughed along?" No answer. That's what I thought. So no, this isn't about one comment. This is about a pattern. And patterns don't change unless there are consequences. So you're going to ruin me. I'm going to stop subsidizing you. What happens after that is entirely up to your own competence. 30 days isn't enough time to. Then you'd better work fast. I hung up. My hands were steady. My heart rate was normal. I felt calm. That surprised me, actually. I'd expected to feel something. Guilt, maybe. Satisfaction. Anger. Something. Instead, I just felt clear. I went upstairs and made another pot of coffee. The healthcare network meeting happened at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. I knew because the facilities director called me at 3:15. "Jim, I wanted to give you a heads up. We met with your son-in-law today." And? It didn't go well. He was unprepared, defensive, blamed equipment issues and transition challenges, couldn't provide a clear timeline for improvement. "I see. We're terminating the contract. 30-day notice. I wanted you to know in case it affects any of your arrangements with him. I appreciate the call. Jim, can I ask you something off the record?" "Sure." "Did you orchestrate this?" I paused. Define orchestrate. You know what I mean. Brendan's entire operation is falling apart at the same time. The lease, the equipment, now his biggest client. That's not coincidence. No, it's not. It's what happens when you build a business on borrowed infrastructure and then alienate the lender. So you are pulling the strings. I'm pulling my strings, the ones attached to things I provided. What he does with the rest is his problem. Silence on the line. That's cold, Jim. That's clear. Your daughter must be devastated. Probably. And you're okay with that? I'm not okay with it, but I'm not stopping it either. He sighed. All right. Well, I wanted you to know. For what it's worth, I always liked working with you. You were reliable, honest. But this seems excessive. Maybe it is. Maybe it's exactly right. Time will tell. We hung up. I sat at my desk for a while, looking at the email he'd copied me on. Formal termination notice, professional language, devastating consequences. My phone rang. Rachel, I answered. They canceled the contract. Her voice was flat, empty. I heard. You knew. You knew this was going to happen. I suspected. You could have warned us. Would you have believed me, or would Brendan have accused me of threatening him? No answer. Rachel, this isn't something I did to you. This is something that happened because Brendan failed to deliver quality work. The network had legitimate concerns. Concerns you planted. Concerns they developed independently based on his performance. I just stayed in touch with people I've known for 15 years. That's called maintaining relationships. You're destroying everything. I'm removing the safety net. There's a difference. He's going to lose the business. We're going to lose the house. Our savings. Everything. Then he'd better find new clients fast. In 3 weeks? That's impossible. It's difficult, not impossible. If he's as good as you both claimed, he'll figure it out. She was crying now, not silent tears. Real crying. I hate you, she said. I know. I will never, ever forgive you for this. You might change your mind about that. She hung up. I set down the phone and stared at it for a long time. The words should have hurt. Maybe they did. I wasn't sure. I felt numb, detached, like I was watching someone else's life collapse from a comfortable distance. My door buzzer rang. I checked the security camera. Patricia's car in the driveway. Thomas standing on my porch. I opened the door. Can I come in? Thomas asked. Sure. He followed me to the kitchen. We sat at the table, same place Patricia had sat. Same conversation, probably. I heard about the healthcare contract, he said. News travels fast. Jim, what are you doing? What do you mean? You know what I mean. You're systematically dismantling your son-in-law's business. Everyone in the industry knows it. People are taking sides. What sides? Some think you're justified. Guy disrespected you. You pulled support? Fair enough. Others think you're being vindictive, going too far. And you? He leaned back. I think you're proving a point. But I'm not sure the point is worth the cost. What cost? Your daughter. Your family, your reputation. People are starting to talk about you differently. Not as reliable Jim who solved problems, as bitter Jim who destroyed his son-in-law. Let them talk. It doesn't bother you? Not particularly, Thomas studied me. You've changed. Have I? Or have I just stopped pretending? Pretending what? That I'm okay with being disrespected as long as everyone stays comfortable. That I value peace more than dignity. That I'm willing to sacrifice my boundaries to maintain relationships with people who don't actually respect me. Rachel respects you. Does she? Or does she respect what I can provide? That's cynical. It's observant. We sat in silence for a moment. What's your end game? Thomas asked finally. I don't have one. Come on. You're too smart for that. You've orchestrated this entire collapse. You must have a goal. The goal was to stop being taken for granted. And once you've accomplished that, then what? I didn't have an answer. Thomas stood up. Jim, I'm going to give you some advice you didn't ask for. You're winning right now. Your son-in-law is failing. Your daughter is devastated. You've proved you have power. But power without purpose becomes cruelty. And I don't think you're cruel. I think you're hurt. There's a difference. Thanks for stopping by, Thomas. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he left. I stayed at the table. Power without purpose becomes cruelty. Was that what this was? Cruelty disguised as boundaries? Revenge disguised as consequences? My phone buzzed. Email from Meridian Properties. The exit meeting was confirmed for Monday. Brendan's attorney had requested a delay. Denied. 3 more emails. Equipment leasing company confirming final pickup dates. My attorney requesting a call. The healthcare network facilities director sending a courtesy copy of the termination letter. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. So why did I feel empty? I went to bed early that night. Couldn't sleep. At 3 a.m., I got up, went to my office, pulled up the folder with all the documentation, years of emails, contracts, notes, Records of every comment, every slight, every dismissal. I'd built a case against my own family. That should have felt righteous, justified, necessary. Instead, it felt sad. I closed the laptop and went back to bed. The weekend before the Meridian Properties meeting, Brendan made one last attempt. Saturday morning, I was in my garage organizing tools when his car pulled up. He got out alone, walked toward me slowly. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Go ahead." He looked around the garage, at the organized toolboxes, labeled drawers, clean workbench, everything in its place. "You really like order, don't you?" he said. "I like systems that work." "Right, systems." He laughed, but it sounded wrong, hollow. "You know what I've realized this week? Everything I built was actually just renting space in your system." "That's accurate. The office, the equipment, the clients, the reputation, all of it was on loan. I thought I was building something, but I was just borrowing." I put down the wrench I was holding. "What do you want, Brendan?" "I want to understand, really understand. Why are you doing this?" "I've explained already." "No, you've given reasons, legal justifications, but I want to know why you hate me." "I don't hate you." "Then what do you feel?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "Nothing," I said finally. "I feel nothing toward you at all." He flinched like I'd hit him. "That's worse," he said quietly. "You know that, right? Hate I could work with. Anger I could apologize for. But nothing? That means I don't even matter enough to hate. You matter to Rachel. That used to be enough for me to care about your success. It's not anymore. Because of one comment. Because of a pattern. Because you confused my support with weakness. Because you thought you could disrespect me without consequences." "I didn't think I could disrespect you. I thought we had a relationship where we could joke around." "You were wrong." He ran his hand through his hair. He looked exhausted, defeated. "The business is done," he said. "You know that, right? Even if I find new clients, new equipment, a new office, my reputation is destroyed. Everyone knows what happened. Everyone knows you pulled the rug out. Nobody wants to work with someone whose father-in-law had to bankroll everything. Then you'll start over. Build something real this time." "With what? I've got savings for maybe 3 months. The house has a mortgage. Rachel's income helps, but it's not enough to cover everything. We've got 2 car payments, student loans, credit cards, from buying furniture for the office you just repossessed." "Sounds difficult." "Difficult?" His voice rose. "We're going to lose everything. Our house, our savings, our credit. Rachel might have to take a second job. We might have to move in with her mother. Is that what you want? Your daughter struggling because you decided to teach me a lesson? I want my daughter to understand that choices have consequences, that the people she treats as disposable might not stay disposable forever." "She didn't treat you as disposable." "She told me to lighten up when you mocked me publicly. That's worse than disposable. That's decorative. I'm supposed to show up, smile, take the jokes, and not make waves. That's not what she meant." "Then what did she mean?" He had no answer. "Brendan, here's what I think. I think Rachel married someone who makes her feel important, who needs her, who can't succeed without her. And I think you've spent 4 years making her choose between supporting you and respecting me. She chose you. That's her right, but it's also my right to stop subsidizing that choice. You're punishing her for loving me. I'm removing myself from a dynamic where I'm expected to fund my own diminishment." He stared at me. "You really believe that?" "I know that." "And nothing I say will change your mind?" "Nothing." He nodded slowly, walked back to his car, stopped with his hand on the door. "Rachel's pregnant," he said without turning around. My heart stopped. "What?" "She just found out. 2 days ago. We were going to tell everyone at New Year's." He turned around, looked at me. "Your grandchild. Due in August." I couldn't speak. "We were so happy," he continued. "Scared but happy. We were going to ask you to be involved, to help, because despite everything, Rachel still loves you, still wants you in her life, in our child's life." "Brendan, but now? Now we don't know how we're going to afford prenatal care. Health insurance through my business just got canceled. Rachel's insurance through her job covers some stuff, but not everything. We're looking at thousands in medical bills we can't pay." He got in his car. "Monday's meeting at Meridian Properties," he called through the open window. "We'll be there. My attorney, Rachel's mother, probably Rachel too, even though she's barely sleeping or eating. We'll go through the formalities, sign whatever papers end this, and then you'll have what you wanted. Complete disconnection, your daughter, your grandchild, gone." He drove away. I stood in the garage for a long time. Pregnant, Rachel was pregnant. I was going to be a grandfather. Was. Past tense already. Because Brendan was right. After Monday, I'd be disconnected. Not just from him, from Rachel, from a grandchild I'd never meet. I went inside, sat at the kitchen table, stared at nothing. My phone rang. Patricia, I answered. Is it true? She asked. Is what true? Rachel. Pregnant. Apparently. Jim, you have to stop this. Why? Why? Because she's pregnant. Because she's going to need support. Because this is your grandchild. A grandchild I'll never meet, according to Brendan. Only if you keep going. Jim, please, I'm begging you. End this. Call off the meeting. Restructure the agreements. Give them time. Why? Because she's your daughter. And I'm her father, which she forgot at Christmas dinner. Oh my God, are you still on that? She made a mistake. She should have defended you. I get it, but you're about to lose your entire family over one moment of bad judgment. It wasn't one moment, Patricia. It was 4 years. Fine, 4 years, whatever. But she's pregnant now. Things are different. How? How are things different? Because there's a baby involved. And that baby deserves to grow up watching its mother disrespect its grandfather, learning that family means using people until they're not useful anymore. Silence. You're impossible, Patricia said finally. I'm consistent. You're cruel. I'm clear. She hung up. I sat at the table until dark. Didn't turn on lights. Just sat there in the shadows, thinking about a grandchild I'd never meet. A daughter who hated me. A son-in-law I'd destroyed. At 9 p.m., I went to bed. Didn't sleep. Lay there thinking about Rachel when she was little. How she used to sit on my lap while I read the paper. How she'd ask questions about everything. How she'd trusted me completely. When did that change? When did I become the problem instead of the solution? Or had I always been the problem and just never noticed? At midnight, I got up, went to my office, opened my email, started typing a message to my attorney, stopped, deleted it, started again, deleted it again, closed the laptop. Monday was 2 days away. 2 days to decide if I was drawing a necessary boundary or destroying my family. 2 days to decide if I was right or just proud. 2 days to decide who I wanted to be. I went back to bed. Still didn't sleep. Monday morning arrived cold and clear. I dressed carefully. Dark suit, conservative tie, the outfit I used to wear to serious meetings, when appearance mattered. The Meridian Properties conference room was downtown. Large building, professional, neutral territory. I arrived 15 minutes early, sat in my car, watching other cars pull into the parking garage, wondered if any of them were Rachel, Brendan, Patricia. At 9:40, I went inside. The receptionist directed me to the 3rd floor. Conference room B. My attorney was already there. Michael Chen, good lawyer, better strategist. Morning, Jim, he said. Michael, you ready for this? Yes. They're going to make offers. Restructuring proposals, payment plans. Brendan's attorney is sharp. He'll try to make you look unreasonable. Let him try. Jim, I have to ask one more time. Are you sure about this? Because once we formalize the exit, there's no walking it back gracefully. I'm sure. He nodded, opened his briefcase, pulled out documents. At 9:55, the door opened. Brendan walked in first. Suit and tie, professional armor. Behind him, his attorney. Mid-40s, expensive haircut, confident walk. Then Rachel. She looked awful, pale, dark circles under her eyes, thinner than I'd seen her in years. She wouldn't look at me. Then Patricia. She looked at me with something between pity and disgust. We all sat down. Brendan and Rachel on one side of the conference table, Patricia next to them, their attorney at the head, Michael and I on the other side. The Meridian Properties representative came in last. Middle-aged woman in a business suit, professional smile. She'd probably done 100 of these meetings. Good morning, everyone, she said. I'm Catherine Lewis, Senior Property Manager for Meridian Properties. We're here to formalize the lease termination on the Riverside office space currently occupied by Brendan Hayes, with James Warren as guarantor. Are both parties ready to proceed? Yes, Michael said. Brendan's attorney leaned forward. Before we proceed, I'd like to propose an alternative arrangement. Catherine looked at him. Go ahead. My client recognizes that the current lease agreement allows for termination with 30 days' notice by the guarantor. However, we'd like to propose a restructuring that allows Mr. Hayes to remain in the space while assuming full responsibility for the lease. That would require Mr. Warren's agreement, Catherine said. Understood. which is why we're prepared to offer compensation for Mr. Warren's time and support over the past 4 years. A one-time payment of $15,000, plus assumption of all future obligations. I looked at Michael. He looked at me. I shook my head. My client declines, Michael said. We can increase the offer. $25,000. Declined. 30. Mr. Hayes, Catherine interrupted. The purpose of this meeting is not to negotiate compensation. It's to formalize the termination Mr. Warren has requested. Do you accept the termination terms? Brendan's attorney sat back. We're trying to find a reasonable solution that doesn't destroy my client's business. I understand. But Mr. Warren has the contractual right to terminate his guarantee, unless you're disputing the contract itself? No, we're not disputing it. We're asking Mr. Warren to reconsider. All eyes turned to me. No, I said. Rachel looked up for the first time. Her eyes were red. Dad, please, she said quietly. Rachel, please, I'm begging you, don't do this. I'm sorry. Sorry? Her voice broke. You're destroying everything we've built, and you're sorry? You built it on borrowed foundation. I'm just removing the loan. We have a baby coming. The room went silent. Catherine looked confused. Brendan's attorney shifted uncomfortably. Michael's expression didn't change. I know, I said. And you're still doing this? You're willing to let your grandchild grow up poor because Brendan made a joke at dinner? I'm willing to let you and Brendan succeed or fail on your own merits instead of mine. That's the same thing. No, it's not. She stood up, walked around the table, stood in front of me. Look at me, she said. I did. I'm your daughter, your only child, and I'm asking you, begging you to stop this. Please, for me, for your grandchild. Please. I looked at her, really looked at her, saw the desperation, the fear, the exhaustion, and underneath it all, the same expression she'd had at Christmas dinner when she told me to lighten up. She wasn't asking me to stop. She was asking me to go back to being useful without being inconvenient. No, I said. She slapped me. The sound echoed in the conference room. Patricia gasped. Brendan stood up. Catherine looked shocked. Michael's hand moved toward me like he might intervene. I didn't move. Rachel's hand was shaking. Tears were streaming down her face. I hate you, she whispered. I hate you so much. I know. You'll never meet your grandchild. Never. I'll make sure of it. That's your choice. My choice? You're the one doing this. I'm removing support I was never obligated to provide in the first place. What you do with that reality is your choice. She turned to Patricia. Mom, say something. Patricia looked at me, then at Rachel. Baby, I think we should go. What? No, make him stop. Rachel, he's made his decision, and honestly, maybe he's right. What? Patricia stood up. Maybe he is right. Maybe we've all been taking him for granted. Maybe Brendan did get too comfortable. Maybe you did choose wrong at that dinner. I don't know. But what I do know is that your father isn't going to change his mind, and making a scene won't help. Mom? Come on, let's go. Rachel looked at me one more time. She left. Patricia followed. Brendan stayed sitting, staring at the table. Catherine cleared her throat. Shall we proceed with the formalities? The next 30 minutes were paperwork, signatures, official termination, transfer of responsibility. Brendan signed everything mechanically, didn't look up, didn't speak except when required to confirm his understanding. When it was done, Catherine gathered the documents. The space must be vacated by the end of the month, she said. All property removed, all keys returned. Is that clear? Yes, Brendan said quietly. He stood up. His attorney stood with him. They walked to the door. Brendan stopped, turned back to me. You know what's funny, he said. I actually admired you. When Rachel and I first got together, she talked about her dad all the time. How smart you were. How you'd built this career helping people solve problems. How everyone respected you. I wanted to impress you, to make you proud, to be worthy of your daughter. Brendan. And for a while, I thought I had. Thought we had a good relationship. Thought you saw me as more than just the guy who married Rachel. Guess I was wrong. You were disrespectful. I made jokes. Bad jokes, apparently. But I never meant to hurt you. Never meant to make you feel small. I just thought we were past formality, that we were family. Family doesn't publicly humiliate each other. No, they privately destroy each other instead. Got it. He left. The room was quiet except for Catherine shuffling papers. Well, she said, that was unpleasant. Michael started packing his briefcase. You okay, Jim? Fine. That looked difficult. It was necessary. Was it? I looked at him. You're my attorney. You're supposed to be on my side. I am, legally. But personally? I'm not sure you won this. I wasn't trying to win. Then what were you trying to do? Make a point. Did you? I didn't answer. We left the building separately. Michael to his office, me to my car. I sat in the parking garage for a while, watching people come and go, normal people having normal days, and not destroying their families. My phone buzzed. Text from Thomas. Heard about the meeting. You okay? I replied, fine. He wrote back immediately. Liar. I turned off my phone and drove home. The week after the Meridian meeting was quiet. No calls from Rachel, no calls from Patricia, no calls from Brendan. Complete silence. I went through my routines, morning coffee, reading, afternoon walk, evening television, normal retirement activities. Like nothing had changed, except everything had changed. Thursday afternoon, Thomas stopped by unannounced. You look terrible, he said when I opened the door. Thanks. Can I come in? Sure. We sat in the living room, the same room where I'd sat with Rachel, with Patricia, with Brendan, all the conversations that led nowhere except here. I'm not here to lecture you, Thomas said, or judge you. I just wanted to check in. I'm fine. You keep saying that. Because it's true. Jim, I've known you for 20 years. I know what fine looks like on you. This isn't it. I didn't respond. Have you heard from Rachel? He asked. No. Patricia? No. Brendan? No. So you're just sitting here alone, telling yourself you did the right thing? I did do the right thing. Did you? Because from where I'm sitting, you sacrificed your entire family to prove a point. I set a boundary. You burned a bridge. Bridges can be rebuilt. Not by the person who burned them. That's not how it works. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the street. What did you want me to do, Thomas? Just accept the disrespect? Keep funding their lives while being treated like a senile old man? Smile and nod and be grateful for table scraps of attention? No. But there's a middle ground between doormat and destroyer. I tried middle ground. For 4 years. It didn't work. So you went nuclear. I went clear. Clear would have been a conversation, setting explicit expectations, giving them a chance to change. This wasn't clear. This was calculated revenge. I turned around. You're right. He looked surprised. I am? Yes. I did calculate this. I did plan it. I did wait for the right moment to pull every support structure at once, because that's the only language they understand. Consequences. And now? Was it worth it? Ask me in a year. I'm asking you now. I don't know. Thomas stood up. Jim, I'm going to tell you something I probably shouldn't. Brendan called me last week, asked if I knew anyone hiring, said he was looking for any work, project management, facilities coordination, anything. I gave him 3 names. Good. He sounded broken, not just stressed, broken. He'll recover. Maybe. Or maybe you damaged him permanently. Rachel, too. Your grandchild will grow up knowing Grandpa Jim is the man who destroyed Daddy's business. Is that what you wanted? I wanted respect. You got fear. There's a difference. He left. I sat in the window for a long time, watching the sunset. Fear. Was that what I'd created? Not respect, but fear? My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mr. Warren. A woman's voice. Professional. This is Riverside Medical Center. I'm calling about Rachel Hayes. She's listed you as her emergency contact. My heart stopped. What happened? She's okay, but she was brought in this afternoon with dehydration and stress-related complications. The baby is fine, but we're keeping her overnight for observation. I'll be right there. Sir, before you come, I should mention that Ms. Hayes has specifically requested that you not be notified or allowed to visit. I'm calling because hospital policy requires we notify emergency contacts regardless of patient wishes. I understand. So you won't be coming? I didn't say that. I hung up, grabbed my keys, drove to the hospital. Riverside Medical was 20 minutes away. I made it in 12. The nurse at the emergency desk checked her computer when I gave Rachel's name. Room 347, 3rd floor. But sir, the patient has requested... I know. I took the elevator, found the room, stood outside the door, took a breath, knocked. Come in, Patricia's voice. I opened the door. Rachel was in the bed, IV in her arm, heart monitor beeping steadily. Pale but stable. Patricia sat in the chair next to her. Brendan stood by the window. All 3 of them looked at me. I asked them not to call you, Rachel said. Her voice was weak. I know. So why are you here? Because you're my daughter. You can tell me that 1,000 times. It doesn't change the fact that you're my daughter and you're in the hospital. Brendan stepped forward. Jim, I think you should leave. I think you should sit down and let me talk to my daughter. She doesn't want to talk to you. Then she can tell me herself. Rachel looked at me. Leave, please. No. No? No. I came here because I needed to see that you're okay. Now I've seen it. But before I leave, you're going to hear what I have to say. I don't want to hear anything from you. Too bad. Patricia stood up. Jim, sit down, Patricia. Something in my voice made her sit. I looked at Rachel, at the IV, at the monitor, at my daughter lying in a hospital bed because stress had pushed her body too far. I'm not sorry, I said. Her eyes widened. I'm not sorry for pulling my support. I'm not sorry for setting boundaries. I'm not sorry for demanding respect. But I am sorry that you're here, that this situation caused you enough stress to put you in the hospital, that my grandchild is at risk because I chose to make a point. Then stop, Rachel whispered. Please, just stop. I will, on one condition. What? You acknowledge what actually happened, not what you've convinced yourself happened. What actually happened? What are you talking about? At Christmas dinner, Brendan publicly mocked my disability. You defended him and dismissed my feelings. For 4 years before that, he'd been making comments about my age, my relevance, my usefulness. You let him. Sometimes you agreed with him. I wasn't imagining it. I wasn't being sensitive. It happened, and it was wrong. Tears started down her face. And when I pulled my support, I continued, I wasn't punishing you. I was removing myself from a dynamic where I was expected to fund my own diminishment. That's not revenge. That's self-preservation. Do you understand the difference? You destroyed his business. His business was built on my foundation. I removed the foundation. What collapsed was his problem to fix, not mine. That's so cold. That's so clear. And until you can see the difference, we can't move forward. Move forward to what? To a relationship where I'm treated as a person, not a resource. Where my boundaries are respected, not managed. Where Brendan understands that disrespecting me has consequences. Brendan stepped forward again. Jim, enough. You've made your point. You've hurt us enough. Can we please just find a way to move past this? I looked at him. Do you understand why I did this? Because I was disrespectful. Do you understand what that means? He hesitated. That I made you feel bad? No, that you saw me as irrelevant. Disposable. Someone who would accept mistreatment because I needed you more than you needed me. And my daughter agreed with you. That's what I'm responding to. Not one comment, a worldview. The room was silent except for the heart monitor. So what do you want? Rachel asked finally. An apology? I want acknowledgement. Real acknowledgement. Not sorry you feel that way acknowledgement. And not let's move on for the baby acknowledgement. Real understanding that what happened was wrong and why it was wrong. She looked at Brendan. He looked at the floor. And if we can't give you that, Rachel asked, then we stay where we are, disconnected, and your child grows up without a grandfather. You'd really do that? I'd really accept that. There's a difference. Patricia stood up. This is insane. Jim, your daughter is in the hospital. Your grandchild is at risk, and you're standing here demanding apologies? I'm standing here demanding reality, and until reality is acknowledged, nothing changes. Then nothing changes, Rachel said. Because I'm not going to pretend that one bad joke justifies destroying our entire life. It wasn't one joke. Fine. Multiple jokes, multiple comments. Whatever, but the response is still disproportionate. Is it? Let's do math. 4 years of systematic disrespect, 12 months per year. Roughly one comment per month. That's 48 incidents. I responded by removing support I was never obligated to provide. How is that disproportionate? Because you're my father. Exactly. I'm your father, not your bank, not your safety net, not your problem to manage. Your father. And fathers deserve respect. The monitor beeped. Rachel's heart rate was climbing. The nurse came in. I need everyone to calm down. The patient needs rest. I'm leaving, I said. I walked to the door. Stopped. Rachel, I love you. I always will. But I won't subsidize people who don't respect me. Not even you. When you're ready to acknowledge what happened and why it matters, call me. Until then, take care of yourself and the baby. I left. Walked through the hospital, out to the parking lot, sat in my car. My hands were shaking. Not from anger, from fear. Fear that I'd just made everything worse. Fear that I was wrong. Fear that I'd chosen pride over family and would regret it forever. I drove home. Inside, I poured a bourbon, sat in my chair, turned on the television but didn't watch. My phone buzzed. Text from Thomas. "Heard Rachel's in the hospital. You okay?" I replied, "No." For the first time since Christmas dinner, that answer was true. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls, all from the same unknown number. I called back. "Mr. Warren?" The voice was familiar. Catherine Lewis from Meridian Properties. "I've been trying to reach you all morning." "What's wrong?" "There's been a development with the Riverside property. Can you come to the office today?" "What kind of development?" "It's better if we discuss in person." I drove downtown, same building, same third-floor conference room. Catherine was waiting, so was someone else, a man in his 60s, expensive suit, confident posture. "Mr. Warren," Catherine said, "this is Richard Brennan. He owns Meridian Properties." We shook hands. "Mr. Warren," Richard said, "I understand you recently terminated your guarantee on the Riverside property." "That's correct. And I understand the circumstances were personal in nature." They were. "I also understand that your son-in-law's business is now facing collapse and your daughter is in the hospital due to stress-related complications." I didn't respond. Richard smiled. Not friendly. Knowing. "Mr. Warren, I've been in commercial real estate for 40 years. I've seen every kind of dispute. Business, personal, family. And I've learned that the worst decisions are made when people confuse revenge with boundaries." "I'm not confused. Aren't you? Because from where I'm sitting, you've destroyed a viable business over what amounts to hurt feelings. With respect, you don't know the situation. I know enough. I know you're a man who built a career on reliability, on helping people solve problems, and now you're creating problems to prove a point." "Mr. Brennan, is there a purpose to this meeting?" He leaned back. "I'm prepared to offer your son-in-law a new lease. Standard terms, market rate, no guarantee required. All he has to do is qualify on his own." I stared at him. "Why?" "Because I don't like seeing businesses fail for personal reasons, and because I know your son-in-law's work. Before all this happened, he was a good tenant. Paid on time, maintained the space, no issues. The only reason he's failing now is because you pulled the floor out from under him." "He failed to maintain standards." "According to you, but his other clients seem satisfied. His vendors speak well of him. The only person with complaints is the man who's actively sabotaging him." "I'm not sabotaging anyone." "No? Then what do you call pulling his lease, his equipment, and poisoning his largest client relationship all in the same week?" "I call it withdrawing support. I call it coordinated destruction." We stared at each other. "Mr. Warren," Richard said quietly, "I'm going to be direct. You're within your legal rights to do what you've done, but legal and ethical aren't always the same thing, and what you're doing is legal cruelty. So I'm offering your son-in-law a way out. Not because of you, in spite of you. He can't qualify without a guarantee. His credit is, I'll approve him anyway. As a personal favor. To him, not to you." "Why?" "Because I have a daughter too, and if someone did to her what you're doing to yours, I'd want someone to help her." The room was silent. Catherine shifted uncomfortably. I stood up. "Do what you want. It's your property." "I will, but I wanted you to know that you have a choice here. You can let this happen. Let your son-in-law rebuild. Step back and let your family recover. Or you can keep fighting, keep destroying, keep proving whatever point you think you're making. But understand that if you choose the second option, you're choosing it knowing there was another way." I walked to the door, stopped. "Mr. Brennan, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "If your daughter's husband publicly mocked your disability at a family dinner and your daughter defended him, what would you do?" He thought about it. "I'd be hurt. Angry, I'd probably say something, set a boundary. And if they'd been disrespecting you for years, taking your support for granted, treating you like you were irrelevant, I'd have a conversation, a real one, clear expectations, consequences if they continued. I tried that. Did you? Or did you go straight to nuclear?" I didn't answer. "That's what I thought," Richard said. "Mr. Warren, hurt people, and right now you're hurt. I get it. But you're also hurting people who don't deserve it. Your daughter didn't mock you. She made a bad call in a moment of stress. That's not a capital offense, and your grandchild certainly doesn't deserve to grow up poor because Grandpa was stubborn. My grandchild will be fine. Will it? Medical bills, stress, parents who are fighting to survive instead of preparing for a baby. You think that's fine?" I left without answering. Drove home, sat in my driveway for 20 minutes. Inside, I went straight to my office, pulled up all the documents, all the plans, all the carefully structured revenge I'd spent 4 years preparing. And for the first time, I asked myself the question I'd been avoiding. Was I right? Not legally right, not technically right, not by the letter of the contract. Actually right, morally right, human right. I sat there until dark, thinking. My phone rang. Patricia. I answered. Rachel's being discharged, she said. Doctor says the baby is fine, but she needs to avoid stress. No pressure, no drama, complete rest. Good. Jim, Richard Brennan called me, told me about the lease offer. And I think you should let it happen. Let Brendan have the lease. Let them rebuild. Step back. Why? Because you've made your point. You've shown them you're not powerless. You've demanded respect. They understand now. Continuing to fight doesn't prove anything except that you're willing to sacrifice your family to be right. I'm not trying to be right. Then what are you trying to be? I didn't have an answer. Jim, I loved you for 23 years. I know you. You're not cruel. You're not vindictive. You're hurt. And when you're hurt, you build walls. But these aren't walls anymore. They're weapons, and you're about to do permanent damage. They started this, and you're finishing it. Congratulations. You win, they lose, you get to be right, and you get to be alone. Is that what you want? I want them to understand. They understand. They understand that you're powerful and they're not, that you can destroy them and they can't stop you, that respecting you isn't optional. They get it. Message received. Now what? I closed my eyes. I don't know, I said. Then figure it out. Because tomorrow morning, Brendan is meeting with Richard Brennan about the new lease, and if you want to stop it, you have one night to decide. She hung up. I sat in my office, looked at all the documentation, all the proof that I was right, and realized that being right wasn't the same as being good. At midnight, I opened my laptop, started typing an email to Richard Brennan, stopped, deleted it, started again. Richard, regarding the lease offer to Brendan Hayes, I won't interfere. Do what you think is right. I hit send before I could change my mind. Then I opened a second email. To my attorney. Michael, please draft a letter to the Healthcare Network Facilities Director. Explain that the performance concerns I raised about Brendan Hayes were premature and influenced by personal conflict. Recommend they give him another chance to address issues before terminating the contract. Send. Third email. To the Equipment Leasing Company. I'm willing to restructure the buyout terms for Brendan Hayes. Please send revised proposals. Send. I closed the laptop. Sat in the dark. Didn't feel victorious. Didn't feel relieved, just felt tired. The next morning, my phone rang at 7 a.m. Brendan, I answered. Jim, Richard Brennan just approved our lease, without a guarantee, at market rate. Did you? I didn't stop it. But you could have? Yes. Silence. Why didn't you? He asked finally. Because someone reminded me that being right isn't the same as being good. More silence. I got an email from the Healthcare Network, Brendan said. They're willing to continue the contract if I can address their concerns within 90 days. Did you? I sent a recommendation. What you do with it is up to you. Jim, I don't understand. 2 days ago you were destroying everything. Now I'm stepping back, removing the active sabotage. But Brendan, understand this. I'm not fixing what I broke. I'm just not making it worse. The rest is on you. That's fair. Is it? Because fair would be you actually understanding why this happened. Not just being grateful it's over. I do understand. Do you? You were hurt. We disrespected you. You responded. I was systematically diminished by my daughter and her husband for 4 years. You both confused my support with weakness, and when I set a boundary, you acted like I was the problem. That's what happened. Can you say that back to me? Pause. You were systematically diminished by Rachel and me for 4 years. We confused your support with weakness. When you set a boundary, we acted like you were the problem. Do you believe that's true? Another pause. Longer. Yes, he said quietly. I do. I didn't see it at the time, but I see it now. And I'm sorry. Okay. Okay? Okay. That's it? I apologize and we're good? No. We're not good. But we're not at war anymore either. We're somewhere in between. Where we go from here depends on both of us. I'd like to go somewhere better. So would I. But Brendan, if you ever, and I mean ever, publicly disrespect me again, there won't be a second chance. I won't sabotage you. I'll just be gone. Completely. Permanently. No contact, no relationship, no grandfather. Understood? Understood. Good. Now go take care of my daughter. I hung up, sat in my kitchen, drank my coffee, looked out the window at the morning. My phone buzzed. Text from Rachel. Can I come over? I replied. Yes. 30 minutes later, her car pulled into my driveway. She looked better. Color in her face, less exhausted, still fragile but stable. We sat in the living room. Same positions as before, her on the couch, me in the chair. Brendan told me what you did, she said. What I stopped doing, you mean? Why? Because someone made me realize I was confusing revenge with boundaries. Were you? Probably. She looked at her hands. I'm sorry, Dad. For what specifically? For not defending you at Christmas, for laughing at Brendan's jokes, for making you feel invisible, for taking you for granted. Do you mean that? Yes. Why didn't you defend me? She started crying. Because it was easier. Because Brendan gets upset when I disagree with him in public. Because I've been choosing peace over standing up for what's right. Because I'm a coward. You're not a coward. I am. I let my husband mock my father because I didn't want to deal with the fallout. That's cowardice. I moved from the chair to the couch, sat next to her. Rachel, look at me. She did. I love you. I always have. I always will. But I won't be disrespected. Not by you. Not by Brendan. Not by anyone. And if maintaining a relationship requires me to accept disrespect, then I'll choose no relationship. Do you understand? Yes. Good. Now here's what's going to happen. Brendan is going to rebuild his business on his own, without my money, without my connections, without my support. He's going to prove he can succeed independently, and if he does, great. If he doesn't, that's between you and him. And us? Us depends on whether you can treat me like a person instead of a resource. I will, I promise. Don't promise. Just do it. And if you slip, I'll tell you, and you'll fix it, or we'll have problems again. Okay. We sat there for a while. Can I tell you something? She asked. Sure. When you left Christmas dinner, I knew I'd made a mistake, but I was too proud to admit it, too invested in protecting Brendan to acknowledge I'd chosen wrong, and then when everything started falling apart, I convinced myself you were the villain, that you were overreacting, that you were cruel, but you weren't. You were just done being treated badly. Yes. I'm sorry it took all this for me to see it. Me too. She leaned against my shoulder, like she used to when she was little. Can you forgive me? She asked. Already have. Really? Really. But Rachel, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, or pretending it didn't happen. It means moving forward with clear understanding of what went wrong and why it can't happen again. I understand. Good. We sat there until she had to leave. When she stood up, she hugged me. Really hugged me. Not the quick, obligatory kind. The real kind. I love you, Dad. I love you too. She left. I stood in the doorway watching her drive away. Then I went inside, sat in my chair, turned on my hearing aid, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. My phone buzzed, text from Brendan. Meeting with Healthcare Network went well. They're giving me 90 days to improve. Thank you. I replied, You're welcome. Don't waste it. Another buzz. Patricia. Rachel told me what happened. Thank you for stepping back. I replied, Tell her to take care of herself. Another buzz. Thomas. Heard you backed off. Proud of you. I replied, Thanks. I sat there looking at my phone, at all the messages, at all the people who'd been watching this unfold, and I realized something. I'd won. Not the fight. The fight didn't matter. I'd won my dignity back. I'd proven I wasn't disposable, that I had power, that I could and would set boundaries. And now, having proven it, I could choose to be merciful. That was the victory, not destruction. Choice. I stood up, walked to my office, looked at all the documents, all the carefully prepared revenge, and I deleted them, all of it. The tracking spreadsheet, the documentation folder, the notes, the plans, gone. Because I didn't need them anymore. I'd made my point. They'd learned their lesson. We could move forward. Or not. Either way, I was free. I walked back to the living room, sat in my chair, turned off my hearing aid, this time on purpose.